And with me today, I have Kate Russell, who is a memoirist and recovery advocate whose writing delves into the profound impact of growing up with abusive, drug addicted parents. In her third memoir, Ironing Out My Life, she reflects on chronic childhood trauma that left lasting emotional scars. Her earlier work, Down the Rabbit Hole, chronicles surviving addiction and embracing sobriety with the guidance of faith and humor. Through candid vulnerability and wit, she shines a light on the often untold stories of pain, recovery, and redemption. Welcome to the show, Kate. Such an honor
Thank
to
you so
have you
much.
here.
Thank you for having me.
Amazing, Kate. So, tell us a bit about yourself, Kate. I mean, I'm absolutely fascinated by, your continual books that you're releasing. I just think that is such a fantastic trait, and you're obviously a very talented writer.
Thank
So,
you.
and things, a lot of your memoirs, they share deeply painful family experiences. So, can you describe a bit more about what it was like growing up with abusive, addicted parents?
Well, I always knew I was going to write about my experiences. I was abused when I was little. My parents were drug addicts and alcoholics, and I just had this strong faith that I don't know where it came from because we weren't religious, but I had this strong feeling that God was with me,
Mhm.
and uh, just this strong feeling of being held and taken care of, and this voice, this God voice, saying everything's going to be okay. And it's sort of kept going and saying like, this is all going to be worth it someday. You're going to use all this to help other people. You're going to write about this. Like I felt like a little writer, like budding, like this little like I just knew I was going to write about as a little kid. I just knew I'm going to write about this one day. Like I'm going to help other people. I just knew, like I knew like this is not for naught. This is for, like this is I just knew. And but I had to get sober before I could even attempt to do that. I remember being in my early 20s and writing on my list of things to do, write the great American novel. And just being, I gotta do that one day. And like, I didn't even begin to start writing until I got sober. I've been sober almost 14 years now. And it started with the steps. I started, step one is, we admitted we were powerless over drugs and alcohol. Our lives had become unmanageable. And my first sponsor had me write in story form, kind of. And so now I have my sponsees do that. You can, different sponsors will have you do the steps different ways. But she had me write in story form, and it just poured out of me. It was just like 6 pages of nonstop writing. And it was just like God just did this step one just through me. And that started the process of me writing Down the Rabbit Hole, which was my first memoir. So there we go. And then it just sort of took off from there.
Amazing. I love that. The fact that you already had a calling for it. And so,
Yeah, like I felt like I'm gonna do this. And then it just sort of came back to me like in sobriety, like, oh yeah, I was gonna do that. Oh, here we go. And it just took over. Yeah.
thank you so much for sharing that. So, and the thing is, you talk about it so, just like it's obviously something that you're used to now, but for a lot of people, going through what you did, it's quite disturbing still. I suppose it depends on healing, right? So, what happened with yourself then? How come you're just such a joy of light now?
Oh, thanks. I don't know. Uh good Lord. I guess a lot of work, I guess, but like really just I had to get away from like my parents were very abusive. My mom died in 2009. She died from alcoholism. I hadn't really been in touch with her for a while, but I have I didn't hold a grudge towards her. I do believe that my mother was very, very sick, alcoholic, very, very early on in her life. And when by the time she died, I was not angry with her. I had forgiven her abusiveness, and really like I do believe she did the best she could. It wasn't really great, but I think she did the best she could. Now my father, on the other hand, I cut off contact with him actually a few weeks before I got sober. And I didn't even like connect the two. But I think there was just a time of change. I was 32 and it was just a time of change for me in my life. And I did that because I was just sick and tired of being his yes man. He was very abusive to me my whole life. And then when I became an adult, he decided we were friends. He decided we were friends and that he was just going to sweep all that abuse under the rug and we just weren't going to talk about it. And I just went along with it because I was an abused kid, So I just yesed it, you know? And then but I never felt okay with it. I never felt like this is an okay relationship. I always felt like there was this elephant in the room that we didn't talk about. And so I was like, not going to do that anymore. And so there was just the straw that broke the camel's back because it kept on being an abusive relationship, but like at in an adult way now. Like, so he sent me, it was like a sexual text message. Like, see, this is what I mean. Do you know what I mean? It was like, and it was like always skirting the line of abuse and inappropriateness and always, continually. And so I finally just said, like, stood up to him and I was like, that is a disgustingly inappropriate text to send your daughter. He didn't respond for like a week, and we used to talk on the phone for we used to talk on the phone like once a week. Then he tried to call me. I didn't answer. He tried to call me again the following week. I didn't answer. I didn't hear from him for a year. Then on my birthday, he sent me an email saying, if you ever want to let me know why it is you don't talk to me anymore, I'd love to hear it. Otherwise, have a nice life. And that was that. And I didn't talk to him for 4 years. And then and in that time, I was getting sober. So it was just like this time of change. So meanwhile, I was just like, ugh, and I was just focusing on recovery, right? And then he ended up on my fourth step. Not my fourth step, or he ended up on a step of mine. I just kept doing the steps, and with this particular sponsor, I was like, well, maybe I've wronged my father. Like, yeah, so my fourth step, I was like, maybe I've wronged him by not telling him why I cut off contact with him, although he knows he's not. And so I like my sponsor was like, well, can you send him a Christmas card? And I was like, okay. So then I did. And then it opened up the lines of communication with him again. And then he like sent me this like 8-page letter being like updating me on the past like almost 5 years of his life. And it was, and then, but I just said like, unless you want, I'm not looking to go back to the relationship we had. If you're looking, if you want to like amend your behavior and
Yeah.
like what, but then it was just like excuse city and he's not like willing to change. And I knew that, I knew that. And like, so we don't talk anymore. So in order, I had to, you know, I
Yeah.
had to wash my hands of all that past. I had to cut off contact with the abusers in my past in order to grow and heal. Like I can't attack. I think that's necessary. I don't know about other people, but I don't see how you can grow and heal if you're still attached to the thing that's hurting you.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
And and I think it's hard for some people, but it wasn't hard for me. I was like, ugh,
I'm
I'm
done.
done.
Exactly. So how was that? Because obviously, we learn a lot from our parents' behavior. So would you say that's what happened with the addiction?
Yeah, but I like would watch them as I didn't want to be like them.
Mm.
Like,
Yeah.
and I didn't even know I was becoming like them, you know,
Yeah.
until everything's clearer in hindsight.
Yeah.
Everything's clearer in hindsight. Like I don't see things when it's happening, but in
Yeah.
in the rear view mirror, I'm like, oh my God, I was becoming my mother, like, oh my God, like I was a mess. Like I didn't see it when I was doing it. I just thought I was in college having fun, but now
True.
I can look back and be like, ew, like, oh, so glad social media didn't exist back then, So glad there aren't pictures.
Oh,
Um,
no.
so, but yeah, like the behavior that they taught me was not anything that I ever wanted to mirror or, it wasn't like admirable behavior.
Mm,
I never thought I'd become my parents ever. And yeah.
no,
Yeah.
thank you. Yeah.
So, but I
That's
can say now I'm not anything like them.
yeah, no doubt. So what actually helped you make the conscious decision to recover and take a different path?
I think that things don't happen by accident. I don't believe in, coincidences. And a lot of things just lined up. A lot of things just lined up. I became friends with somebody who we'll call my Eskimo, like that's what we call it in AA, like the person that gets you into sobriety. And this girl, I became friends with her, and she was around my age, and she had been sober for 12 years, and I was like, what? And she was super cool. And we would go out together and she wouldn't drink. And I was like, what? That's crazy. Because her life was not like great and amazing. She was like kind of going through some stuff and like not. And I kept waiting for her to drink because I was just like I didn't understand, you know? And she'd be the designated driver. We'd go out together, just be the two of us. I'd drink, she wouldn't. I didn't understand. And I'd feel bad about myself because she'd be sober and I'd be drinking because I didn't know how to go out and not drink. And sometimes just the two of us would hang out and I'd still be drinking because I didn't know how to not drink. And like, I just admired that she didn't drink and it wasn't even an option for her, even though like her life wasn't all puppies and rainbows. But just wasn't an option for her to drink. And I was like, well, that's admirable. And that's like, I was astounded by that, you know? I kind of always felt like sobriety was in my future. It was just a matter of when. And I had dipped my toes into the water of AA and then retreated a couple times. And then when I decided to really dive in, I really dove in. And that was the, you know.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for explaining that because it's always important to understand our why. And I know that just by you sharing that, it's going to really help others as well who may be on this journey.
They
But
say, oh, sorry. They say your bottom is where you stop digging. And I love
mm,
that
yeah,
because I was like, oh, like people will come into AA and be like, maybe I'm not bad enough to be here, you know? And like, and then it's like, mm, mm,
yeah,
mm.
I've
Yes,
heard
you
that a lot.
you are, you know.
What? It's
Oh, you
true.
are.
Yeah, because then what happens is people they start comparing themselves to others and
Yeah.
saying that I'm nothing like them.
Exactly. I didn't live under a bridge. I'm fine. You know, I wasn't homeless. I didn't like, but I used to say that to myself, like, what am I waiting for? Am I waiting to get fired? Like, because then, like, am I waiting for a DUI? Like, because then I would not be getting sober on my own terms. And I wasn't quite sure if I would stay sober if somebody else forced me into recovery, you know, like if it was a DUI or something like that. I kind of felt like it had to come from me,
Yeah,
you know?
okay. Oh,
So, yeah.
oh, thank you. So, like your memoir balances raw trauma with humor. So, how did you actually approach revealing such vulnerable stories in a way that feels both truthful and hopeful?
Oh, thank you. I edited a lot. And this book went through so many edits, but I think you remember certain things for a reason. You know, if certain memories would like really pop up and shine and be like, you gotta tell that story. You know, like there's a reason I'm really remembering this particular point of my life, you know? I kind of feel like again, like when I say like God like just writes through me. Like I just feel like certain things shine in my memory for a reason. And that just sort of, and so I would just like make note of that and sort of let that guide things like in the writing process. And then, and I edited there's so much that's edited out of these memoirs, you know? So I would write, and then edit, you know? But it's a fun process. I mean, God, the purge and then for me, writing is such a healing, revealing, you know, like it's like we discard, we reveal, we discard, it's so everything. It's the key, you know. I just think everybody should just write. I write every day. I write every day still in the morning, at night. Yeah. I just must.
I love that. And I know that with you as well, you mentioned God. How does spiritual beliefs actually assist you in your writing and your recovery?
I wake up every morning. So, yeah, I wake up every morning and I pray and I just ask God to guide me in all I think, say, do, feel, believe. Um, and and at night I say thank you for doing that. And it's like when I do that, I must trust throughout the day that he is doing that. And so I'm constantly checking in, like constantly just saying, God guide me, God take it, God and so it's a constant like because I want to they say take my will back, I want to if it, instead I have to stop I have to check myself constantly and just be like, instead of praying for things I want, just be like, uh, constantly letting go, just God's will. And I just try to be led and I try to, and it's just an ongoing practice. It's an ongoing practice, but I feel very right with God, but it's just been such a practice just through being sober. But I felt that connection with God from such a young age that it was so easy to get right back in touch when they say find a higher power, he's right there. Like it was so easy. It was right there. It was like, "Oh, I've got one. Cool." That was nothing, Like
Yeah.
I've got one.
Yeah. So is that your practice like to this day about
Yeah.
how you rebuild
Yeah,
or
yeah. Every day I start and I end the day with prayer, and then it's just throughout the day. It's just constantly checking in with God. And I write in the morning and at night every
Mm.
day. And I write in prayer form. Like I write to God. Yeah.
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 Love that. Thank you for sharing that. Really important because yeah, when you're right, it's really healing and you just get out of your, fight, flight and freeze response and into, your prefrontal cortex, which is your logical part of the brain. And so that's what helps you to make sense of situations rather than being so, in a heightened response and a heightened state. So absolutely. Journaling, that's what helped me. So yeah, I would definitely recommend that for everyone.
Yeah, they say you can't be in fear and in faith at the same time. So I try to get out of fear, which is like my head, and into faith, which is like my heart, and really live there.
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So that's what I try to like lead with.
I love that. Thank you. So like in terms of thinking about toxic relationships and breaking the cycles, how would you recommend people to do that if they're currently stuck?
I think I think
Mm.
you've got to cut off contact with your abusers. You've just got to. No matter how hard it is, I don't know how you're going to heal from unless that abuser is also willing to grow and change and heal.
Yeah.
And they're probably not. Like, if they are, great, grow and heal together. But how likely is that? I mean, if they are great, great, then you can grow and heal together. But if they're not, and you got to do what's right for you, you got to, I don't care if they're your mother, your father, your husband, your
Uh,
child. If they're abusive, get them out of your life. This is not
yeah.
eh, you first, put on your life vest. You got to save your own life first.
Yeah.
I, I just,
It's hard for people. I know how hard it can be because, they might have kids involved and,
yeah,
especially when
of
it's the parents, there's that element of sh guilt as well, that
course, yeah. No, man. I just know you're not going to get very far in your own growth, recovery process, healing if you're attached to the thing that's still hurting you.
Yeah.
We're a culmination of like what, the five people we hang out with the most.
Yeah.
So
So
you're
yeah.
you're 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 one-fifth this abuser,
Mm,
or whatever. No,
yeah.
no, 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 no.
No. Yeah. So
Oh, it's
so
hard. I know. I don't know what to tell you. That's okay. You can do hard things. Do it.
yeah, well, it's all about establishing healthy boundaries. I suppose that there's a way to do that as well, just by minimum contact and only at events or
Mhm.
parties and stuff.
Yeah, some people are good at that. I had to just
Right.
I,
Mm,
for me it was you
yeah.
know, some
Okay.
people are good at that. You're right. This is silly, but I just watched the movie uh that Stewart saves his family. Do you know? Okay, so this is a SNL character. Is it Stewart? Okay, so Is it? Okay, so is an SNL character. This is like a movie from like the early 90s, and it's all about this guy in 12-step programs, and he like yeah, he has to like cut contact off with his abusive, so he's in every 12-step group basically because all of his family has like alcoholism and like all the things like food addiction and blah 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 blah. And he's very good at maintaining healthy boundaries. He moves away, but he sets healthy boundaries with his family. Like that's sort of how the movie ends with like healthy boundaries. Like nobody wants to get help, so he has healthy boundaries with them. Like he doesn't completely cut off contact like I'm suggesting like I do. But he contacts them like on Christmas or something like that. Like I'm like, good for you, if you want to do that. If you can do, he has like sponsors in every program. So maybe that's another option. Go to every program, get a sponsor in every program, work the steps in every program. He's in Al-Anon and all the OA, Overeaters Anonymous, and yeah,
Okay.
it's really funny.
Okay, that's
That
fantastic.
movie was really cute. I really recommend it.
So that
I,
could work, yeah.
yeah,
Brilliant. I love that. And yeah, I mean, having a sponsor is just that element of support, isn't it? It's having that someone who you're accountable to,
yeah,
hold you to your word. Because as we know, it's easy to
hopefully,
get
yeah.
sidetracked, it's easy to fall off the wagon, get demotivated. So, it's like having a coach.
Hopefully they'll call you out.
Hmm,
Yeah.
okay, no, that's great. So, what message do you hope that other survivors and readers of your stories you can actually take away from your stories?
I don't know. I think, I mean, so many things, so many things, so many things. I think that's the whole last chapter of my book. There's so many things. I just think, you know, if I could go back and tell little me, anything that, God, I would tell her the whole last chapter of my book, but I would say, "Okay, everything really is going to be okay, you
Mm,
know, because I really wanted to believe that as a young abused child. And I think like there's so there was this saying like never deprive someone of hope. It may be all they have left. And I feel like exactly. Like if I could just tell all the victims out there, the little like people being abused, people in toxic relationships, people who feel stuck, people who feel like there's no way out, they're never going to get out, they can't see a way out because they don't know how.
mm,
um, that there is a way out and they just don't know it yet, or they just don't know how it is yet. But if they just put one foot in front of the other and go in the right direction, they will find it.
yeah.
Eventually, they will
Mm,
get there.
okay.
Everything is going to be okay. You just
Mm,
have to kind of walk in the right direction,
yeah, definitely. Yeah.
you know?
Find the
Don't
path.
go around and walk in the wrong direction. Just keep walking in the right direction. You will get there, you
Beautiful.
know?
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
amazing. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, have you kind of had any reader feedback, which has actually impacted you the most?
Nothing is more fulfilling to me than when I get an email that my book has touched somebody.
Wow.
Yeah, and yes, I have gotten emails from people who say they identify, oh my God, you told my story. Oh my God, I was like crying reading your book. I like thank you so much. Like yes. And that feels like my purpose on
Wow.
this earth is like, thank you so much, and I will write back to every single person. I write back to every single person that reaches out and says something.
It's
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah. I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Uh,
amazing.
yeah, it is. And so what's next for you? And
I
Richard?
don't know. Like this completes the trilogy. So I wanted to write. So it started, I didn't know that it was going to be that I was going to write 3 books. I started with Down the Rabbit Hole, and that ended up being my story, basically, my story of abuse, addiction, and recovery. And when I was writing that, I uh, it ended up being very long, and I ended up extracting everything that was about my sister and then making voicemails from my sister its own book.
Mm,
My sister is schizoaffective, so that's what that book is about. It's a voicemails from my sister, stories of a schizoaffective sibling. Now it kind of covers my sister's whole life because schizoaffective disorder is diagnosed in your early 20s. So her whole life, though, it was sort of like what's misdiagnoses and what's wrong with her, and we don't know, and ADD, but also she had epilepsy, like all these things, like we a lot of developmental disorders, which
mm,
will happen if you use drugs when pregnant. So that's what happened. So I tell her story basically. She deserves her own book, by the way. Like she's kind of a huge character. She's a huge character, you know.
beautiful.
So she gets her own book. So, and then this third book, Ironing Out My Life, started out actually as, well, it had several working titles, but it was going to be more focused on my relationship with my dad, but then it ended up being kind of more focused on my relationship with both parents.
Mm,
And so it ended up being like just sort of ironing out my life, as in ironing out sort of my relationship with but it's not just my parents, because that my relationship with my parents extends to my relationships, becomes my relationships with everyone else. you
mm,
know they taught me how to have how to have relationships with everyone, and so that's what this book is. It's you
yeah,
know I you taught me, parents, how to have relationships with friends,
mm,
and partners. And so I became this people pleasing, I don't know how to say no, person, just this yes woman that, and had to really cut off contact in order to stop all that yes behavior, all that people pleasing, all that Al-Anon stuff,
mm,
and heal and do a 180, and become a person I'm proud to be. So that ended up being that. It ended up and so I just sort of umbrellaed those three books under the the blanket name of Portrait of a Dysfunctional Family. And I was like, well, there, that works.
mm.
That's the box set. That's the box set name.
That's beautiful. Thank you. So where can people find you? Are you on social channels and
Yeah, my website is katerussellauthor.com. My books are all on Amazon and on Audible. Um, so you can get my books in paperback, on Kindle, and on audible.com, but they're all available through Amazon
okay. Mhm.
or through my website that'll take you to Amazon, katerussellauthor.com.
Excellent. I shall be adding the links into this episode today. So, do you have one last message to share today?
Oh, just you're worth it.
Um,
You're worth it. Don't give up. Everybody, everybody was put here by God for a reason. Nobody's better than anybody else.
wow, very true. We're all unique in our own way, and yeah, we're unique and not odd. I like people sometimes things because they might not fit in that, that they're probably an outcast. Whereas, no, you have unique features. Embrace it.
We're
Yeah.
all part of this. I think we're just, sometimes when it feels like, oh, life, it's not fair. I don't understand. I don't understand why things are happening the way they're, because things don't seem fair. And I think, okay, we are part of this huge universe, right? And we're just this tiny little speck in this huge universe. We don't see the huge picture. We don't see the big picture. We're not supposed to see the big picture. We're just a little part, and we just have to trust that, like, I have a lot of faith. I think God's got it.
Mm,
You just have to trust it's all going to work out. Like, as long as I keep doing going in the right direction, putting one foot in front of the other, heading in the right direction, and don't turn around and go in the wrong direction, I have to trust that everything's going to work out because God's got it. Like the big picture, He's got.
mm,
You know, it might not seem fair that this happened, that happened this way or whatever, because we're people and we have free will and blah blah blah. But the big picture is going to work out.
mm.
I'm just going to keep walking in the right direction. There you go.
That's it. Wow. I love that. Your nuggets of wisdom, they're really, really admirable. Thank you so much for sharing them today.
You.
Feel so blessed to have you here. And yeah, that is basically all we have time for today. So I hope everyone enjoyed the show. And please do reach out to Kate if you have any questions about any of her material produced today. And, if you just like to have a chat or feedback regarding her books. As we know, she'll get back to you. She'll email you back.
I will. Thank you.
Thank you. Beautiful. So yeah, I look forward to seeing everyone in the next show. Stay blessed, everyone. Again, thank you, Kate.
Thank
Take
you.
care.